Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made.
And I'm Ross, creative director at Epic Made, and we're the hosts of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Marcy Selsberg of Blah Blah Blah, Joe Weaver of OceanT.com, and Rebecca Blake of the Graphic Artists Guild.
We are forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and as always, we are always looking for more sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a collaborative of expert artists and animators who help brands tell powerful and engaging stories. We've demonstrated our expertise in visual storytelling, fantasy pop culture, and detailed world building in collaboration with some of the biggest entertainment brands on planet Earth, including Sci-Fi, Nickelodeon, and TNT. Visit getepicmade.com and let's collaborate on your next creative campaign.
So with us today, we have Tim Harris. Tim was on the launch team for Pokemon Red and Blue. He also owns a comic store and is 9 issues away from having a full run of the X-Men. He's been making games for 15 years and is currently the CEO of Paragon, a NFT experience platform launching very soon. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And so we're going to get into the qualifying questions that we ask all of our guests, but we don't need much of an introduction. We've been working together for probably the past 6 months.
Yeah, for sure. We met Tim through the Jason Swank Mastermind. Actually, I met Tim through a friend of Tim's who's in the Jason Swank Mastermind, but we meet just a lot of amazing people through there. So huge kudos to Jason, as always. I feel like this every episode. We gotta start charging him for this or something.
Yeah, and then what? 7-8 months later, we've been in the trench together for 6 months.
Yeah, for real, man. We've just been grinding and making really cool shit together. So before we get into that, because I know we'll just ramble about it the whole time because it's so exciting. But all right. So before we get into that, today we have a few quick questions for you, Tim. So how long have you been doing this, and what brought you to your industry?
So if we're talking about games, there's one answer. If we're talking about Web3, there's another answer. So I just
sure.
both. Games is something that's evidenced by the intro that you were talking about, Ross. When I first got out of school, I found myself on this new little sad desk at the with the marketing team for Nintendo. And that new little sad desk, because I was the most junior guy, I got the weird Japanimation project. Their words, called Pocket Monsters. And that Pocket Monsters scenario ended up being the first thing that I did on that, which was, you can't call it Pocket Monsters in the States. Because as you know, to this day, in Japan, still called Pocket Monsters in English. So one of the first things that I did is I wrote a 7-page letter to Minoru Arakawa explaining in really fine detail and very carefully
what a
why
Pocket Monster
call Pokemon Pocket Monsters in that state. I wish I kept that letter.
So it is entirely possible that you're the reason it's called Pokemon.
I love to tell the story because it sounds that way, but I'm pretty sure I was one of 1,000 voices probably raising up that issue.
Okay.
So I might be the only one telling the story at this point. So sure, let's give me the credit. But
yeah, I'm putting it on the wiki page.
I seriously doubt it belongs with me. That didn't start my love of games, but certainly was an eye opener for me on something going from 0 to hero overnight. And we were all there for what Pokemon was and is and became. And I learned a whole lot. But what it really did was I was planning on going into film school the next year. That completely diverted me. I'm like, no, screw this. I need to make games. And 5-6 years later, I launched my first studio, which is a studio called Set of Lights. We made a game called The Continuum, which was an online collectible war game. The only reason that's relevant is that was in 2006. And that means that it was before the blockchain. So there's an interesting thing about, I think what we did was you could own your characters. Not familiar? So you can own your characters, except we were using a unique identifier as opposed to the blockchain to do that. But really early on, the only reason I tell that story is that I believed in digital ownership really early. Didn't know what blockchain was because it wasn't invented yet. But was really excited about that whole concept. And so I've gone on to make less esoteric games. I've worked on everything from launched a studio called Industrial Toys a few years later, which made the Midnight Star franchise, as well as then was acquired by EA and became the team that was working on Battlefield Global. But I've worked on World of Warcraft, I've worked on League of Legends, I've worked on Uncharted, all sorts of stuff over the many years. So my love of games and making games has been going on forever. But I switched gears about a year ago professionally to do Paragon, which is, as you guys introduced, I appreciate that, an NFT experience platform, because I was ignoring Web3. Literally, I was like, I was dabbling in crypto, but from an NFT and collectible standpoint, I was ignoring it on purpose because I was in the middle of making, traditional games.
Right.
And it's funny to call it traditional, but the reality is I was keeping my head down, even though I own a comic book store. So I'm obviously a degenerate collector of things,
Right.
Analog things. And, in 2021, when really things were taking off from an NFT standpoint, I was like, I want to pay attention, but I can't right now. I want to pay attention, but I can't buy it right now. And late in 2021, I was like, all right, I'm not being intellectually honest with myself if I'm not going deep. But I also knew what I would do, which was to go deep, which is what I want. So I went deep in Ethereum NFTs and Solana NFTs, and within every single Discord and on every single Twitter feed and within every single bin. I was playing all the games and doing all the things and having every PSP under the sun. And meanwhile, though, I was still making traditional games. And the reason I sort of made the step professionally over into doing what we're doing right now with Paragon is because basically last summer, I realized in the midst of a very difficult market that it was probably time for me to start doing this experimentation, because we're still so early in it and because all the rules haven't been written and because I needed to figure out what those rules were going to look like. And I was excited about helping with the writing of those rules. And on top of that, I had been grifted, scammed, run cold, et cetera, millions of times as a consumer, just as my own person doing my own thing. And I was like, there's a better way. Two, we could do so much more with what we're doing in this space. And that's when I came together with a group of folks at Paragon. It was called company's called something different at the time. And I came on board, we renamed it. And we evolved on top of an unbelievable platform that had already been made before I even got there into what it is today. So fantastic team, unbelievable vision from the team before I got there. And then we have then turned it into what hopefully ends up being an NFT experience platform that a lot of people can enjoy.
I love it, Tim. Yeah, I can't wait to get into the weeds of that a little more because I think it's quite special. Side note, I still have my red and blue for the Game Boy. In both of them.
Me too. I still have those too. And what any Pokemon fans out there might get jealous about is I still have the original Gen 1 packs of the trading cards that Nintendo sent to us that we never opened. That's the that stuff that I still own. The unbelievable heartbreak is that most of the packs I opened and we bet and we played with the game and we messed them all up. So today, those are worth nothing.
Right.
But we just get a lot of good swag at the beginning of those days.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I had a pretty hefty Magic collection early on that I traded to my mechanic to fix my car in college because I didn't have any money, and now it's like it's worth way more than my car.
You probably had some fantastic pieces in there too.
I was like, I have been collecting since like 3rd edition or 4th edition, and then on to like 6th. So there was some good stuff there.
Yeah, my birthday's tomorrow, and as an early birthday present to myself, I finished collecting the entire Berserk series and the full Mike Mignola Hellboy set.
Nice.
Which is amazing. Both references of which have come up in our collaboration together.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah.
Lots of Easter eggs.
Yeah, Mike Mignola is one of my artistic heroes, and having the full like library, like gold plated felt like covered book series of the stuff.
The tactile message is good as the fact that that's Magnolia.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
All right. So one more. We have what's top of mind in your industry right now.
What's top of mind in our industry? Well, I have to be biased on the answer to that, which is
Right.
I think one of the biggest things that's top of mind right now is where are we going, and where is this NFT thing moving? Because people are watching the financialization of NFTs cause all sorts of weird waves and floor prices and value, and what are these companies doing? We've seen the bear market go from every single mint that comes out as a hype mint, and it's that easy to mint out, to, oh, there's only a select few that are doing that. But most importantly, I think we're moving into this. What does it mean to own a digital good? What does it mean to have a digital collectible? What does that do for you? And I think we're moving into a space where it is about the art, and it is about the community, and it's about what does the NFT do? So because they're digital, and do is a broad, topic. So because of the fact that we are banking what we're doing, our project and everything, on the fact that the experiences that are unlocked by NFTs are what will be increasingly important in the coming months and years. It doesn't mean anything that wasn't important yesterday isn't important anymore. It just means there's more. And so I think that in the midst of where do we go right now, which I think is probably the most top of mind thing happening, which is, when are the forks going to stop going down? When is the bull market going to come back? And those are all, value and price-based topics. I think the future is going to hold the experience-based topics, and I think increasingly we're going to be focused on what those things are. And that goes for everything from nerdy stuff like we're getting ready to talk about in the PFP world, and also gaming, but also in sports and music and travel and real estate even. I think we're going to see a lot more happening in this space and all those.
Absolutely. And just for the users that aren't super Web3 savvy, we'll take little pauses and go, hey, PFP means profile picture, which is, your standard little icon of like an ape or a character or whatever collection you're into. PFPs are the most trendy thing in NFTs right now.
Yeah,
and have bad
about that, Carl. Yeah,
no, it's good.
By saying we're going from monkey JPEG into digital experiences.
Yeah, totally. All right. So one last question. I know I said that before, and then I thought about it again. So tell us a project that you're most proud of that isn't Paragon, and then we'll talk about Paragon.
Sorry, that isn't what?
That isn't Paragon. Yeah.
A project in the Web3 space?
Just that you're most proud of. Could be Web3, or it could be, it could be that Pokemon Red and Blue. It could be whatever it is.
And are you? Oh, so you're a project of my own?
Of your own, correct?
Oh, okay. Well, then it's easily my comic book store, AlleyCat Comics in Chicago. Ding.
Love it.
Say that again a bit slower.
Yeah, exactly. So AlleyCat Comics is my store here in Chicago, and my partner Nick Idell and I started as friends. We were both comic addicts and collectors for the early years, and it really the genesis came about by saying we could build a better mousetrap of a comic book store. And since I haven't talked to you guys about this before, that hopefully you'll understand that every comic book store, we ran around everything in the Chicago area and looked at the way they were designing the retail experience of comic books. And it wasn't
being generous with that word. So you're being overly generous with that word there. But
yeah, retail design. Yeah. Well, yeah. So what I realized is comic book stores were incredibly poorly designed from an interior standpoint.
Totally.
They're not very accessible because they feel judgy, and the comic book store dude from The Simpsons and
sure.
And they feel like inside baseball. So like if I don't know what's going on, sure, I know Spider-Man and Batman, but if I pick up one of the 18 different titles of either one of those characters, where do I start? What's the main story? How do I get on board? That's very intimidating and feel other. It doesn't feel like, me, like you feel like I'm down walking into a store if you're not a hardcore long-term collector. On top of that, we realized there are no chains in America of comic book stores. The closest thing to a chain, there are several like location based sort of chains like My Life Comics and here in Chicago, Graham Cracker Comics, where they have several locations.
Kaboom, I think, is
It's
also
one. It's not like a national chain of comic books that is like the thing. And so that was super. And then kids, right? This is the sad part about comic book stores is the average age of an analog comic book collector, a person who buys paper comic book, is something like, I'm going to screw this up, it's something like 40. But what I do know is that also increases by 1 year every year.
Yeah.
Which means youth is absorbing all the stuff that they're getting in the movie. And, comic book IP has never been more valuable, but no one's reading a comic book. And so we started looking at, well, how do you, what is the kids angle in any comic book store? And the closest thing we could find to a kids section in a comic book store in Chicago was a dirty bath mat sitting in front of a rack of like Teen Titans Go and more youth oriented comics, one rack. And I was like, I'm not letting my kids sit on that bath. So all that lead up is that we took all those kind of inputs when we opened AlleyCat, and I think it was May of 2011. So we're going on 12 years now.
Wow.
And we didn't have any money, and it's called AlleyCat because we rented our space is an ex garage down an alley between a Starbucks and a Pop Alley on one of the biggest streets in Chicago, Clark. But you have to go down. It ended up being kind of cool because it's like a hideaway. This is this unbelievable space.
It sounds cool.
A glass garage front door, and which makes it cool for retail in the summer. So we opened that up, and then we learned all the other things that we didn't know about how to order the right comics for the constituency in the neighborhood that you're in. We learned about our loyalty program and the pull system. And if you're not a comic book fan, lots of comic book stores will pull whatever books you like every single week for you on Wednesday when they come out. So we have a dedicated kids section, which is AlleyCat Corner, and we have and then we designed kind of a brand around it with this rockabilly little cat that had served to like draw everything together, and then we made it clean and cardboard-less. So the racks for our back issues, now we're getting really part of the weed, but Nick's dad designed and built nice wooden pull-out shelving and drawers for all of our back issues. Because the dirty little secret of comic book stores is back issues are less than 10% of what you sell.
Oh.
Because how many people walking into a store find the exact thing they're looking for in the back issue?
Right.
Whatever recent. I knew that, which is why I'm 9 issues away from an X-Men full run of volume 1. But my rule is I can't buy it on eBay. Right. So like I can finish the collection tomorrow if I use eBay. I have to go to a store or I have to find it at the convention.
That's what
I'm allowed to buy it.
That's what I do with the pops. I can't buy them off.
Oh,
Like I have to go to like a con or a comic book store or something like that. Otherwise, I would just curate all the villains that I wanted.
And that's not fun. Yeah.
I swear to God, you guys are like long lost cousins. You have so many parallels.
But so I'm super proud of 99% of everything's been done with my partner Nick.
Dude, that sounds sick. I'm going to have to check it out.
He's the ultimate, like he's a cross between Santa and Amazon. When you walk in, you're like, what's good? You can ask you 3 or 4 non-comic book questions and then diagnose exactly what you should read. And so he's the opposite of the comic book guy in The Simpsons. He's everything that you were greeted by when you go into a store.
That's cool, man. Yeah, all the comic book shops. I went into one the other day, and it was just like boxes of shit everywhere, and I couldn't. And it was just like it's like no one's dusted in this place in like 10 years, and like it was just
there's a distinct smell that comes with that.
We're
not totally cardboardless. Completely right. We got a consent bin, and we got all that kind of stuff. We certainly transport and use cardboard, but for the much less cardboard than a typical comic store.
For sure. All right, well, let's roll into that's really cool, Tim, by the way. So if you're in Chicago, go check out AlleyCat Comics for sure. And it's definitely on my short list now as well. I didn't even know you had that comic book store before. We never talked about that. So I'm excited to check it out next time I'm in Chicago. So
Heck yeah.
cool. All right. Roll with it, Ross. So
Yeah, so for the remainder of the episode, we are going to discuss the Paragon Project, which Epic made, as we kind of alluded to, has been helping produce on the illustrative sort of visual asset side, as well as just kind of the NFT market, how it pertains to illustrations, comics, games, the experience overall, kind of what we hope it eventually becomes compared to what it is now, and so on and so forth. So, Tim, you wanna give like a brief overview of like what Paragon is, and then we'll kind of go into Epic Made's contributions to it.
Absolutely. So Paragon, I said the phrase several times, but I have no illusion that people will immediately know what an NFT experience platform is.
Right.
So,
Right, yeah.
but the project we're working on together, I think, actually is the answer to what is it that you're doing. So, real quick, the platform itself is a transactional platform. You can buy, sell, rent, buy now, pay later, rent to own. And we're working on all sorts of different features that let you transact against for NFTs, for collections, for individuals, etc. And that what we're focusing on is not high volume trading, not making sure that it's all about the number go up. It's about highlighting what different communities and different projects and different creative is doing behind the experience for the consumer. So we're three parts. There's a discovery engine. Right now, if you're in NFTs, it's really difficult to find out what's going on. You got to be in 30 Discord servers, and you got to follow 500 different Twitter accounts, and you have to individually look at them all to figure it out. There's some great press in Web3 and in NFT. Great podcasts, some great newsletters that are doing some aggregation of what's going on. However, what we're going to do with the discovery engine, which is part of the platform, is that it's also about, if I'm looking at a project, all right? So if I'm looking at doodles and I'm looking at a specific NFT, in most other places, all you're going to see is the traits of that NFT and the price. And then, of course, the activity, its history, right, of that.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to be showing you what's going on with that particular project this weekend, next week. What's the time-based stuff that's going on? Is there an event? Is there a drop? Is there some other collection that's coming? We're going to contextualize what you're looking at in a way that hasn't been done before. So, and so it's not just the discovery engine like the search engine. It's also, well, what do I do now? Or I'm already a part of a project, right? I own 3 or 4 of this project NFT. What can I do with them today? We all lose track of those things, right? Everybody, there's been several metas that have come along, and everybody did it. And that goes from events to staking to mission-based stuff to whatever. But you lose track of it unless you're paying attention to the Discord every single day or following the Twitter and got notifications on and all that stuff. So we're going to try to solve for that problem. The transactional part I already talked about. And then the third part is a bit of a cross between a meta and the proof of concept, which is the project that we're working on with you guys, with Epic Made. And that is we're doing our own collection. And what we realized that we started to think about the way that we were going to go to market and introduce this, there's a chicken and egg issue that we had to solve for, which was, okay, all those transactions sound great. And for example, renting an NFT sounds great because if I'm an owner and I'm sitting on an NFT that I'm not using right now and I could get some money for renting it out and I never lose it and it's totally secure, why wouldn't I? That's fantastic.
Right.
But on the demand side, there isn't any. So, so following that, and the reason is because you're like, why would I? The whole point that I was just talking about with the discovery engines, why would I do that?
Why would you pay to rent an intangible piece of collective I mean, renting like a comic book or something, you could at least digest the story and then give it back, right? Like you take away something from it, even though renting a movie is the same concept. But you unlock something, right? Renting it unlocks an experience Yes.
In the case of a comic or a movie, the media of the experience, you get to have that experience. And we're not doing that. So,
I've seen some of that actually are like just like I saw people like manually doing it, borrowing an NFT to go to a Bored Ape party in New York during NFT NYC.
Right.
Like you can't get in without that NFT.
Yeah.
Just for additional context for the audience. Yeah.
And so, yeah,
But it's unsafe.
It's not happening at all. It is
Yeah.
happening, but like there's some things you start to see happen. Already heard an example too when they dropped the sewer path, and the sewer path let you sewer path with an NFT, and it let you play the Dicky Dash game, but you had to have one to play the game. And we saw a lot of borrowing and renting, and even people paying pro gamers to play with their NFT because the better score you got, the better mint you had at the end.
Oh my god!
So we saw this kind of behavior happening in that situation because the renting or borrowing of it meant you got to have an experience.
There was a reason.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
So we conceived of the kind of the mint and collection and game that we're working on right now as a bit of a proof of concept and an answer to that why. And the reason being is we're going to mint 3 different collections, all 3 of which Epic Made is partnering with and collaborating with us on the artwork. But it's not just been on the artwork. You guys have put so many ideas into what we're doing that it has evolved and turned into what I'm going to describe in partnership with you guys. And when we started out, it was always 3 collections. We're going to mint a collection of PFPs called the Seekers, and the Seekers are going to be these fantasy and sci-fi and characters that are seeking the Paragon. Paragons being the beings of unimaginable power across the universe, and there will be a Paragon collection also. Those 2 will be, hero type PFP, and they've turned out amazingly. If you look at on our Twitter feed or our Discord or all over the people that have covered us, they're getting out there in increasing amounts. But it just turned out better than I imagined.
Thank you.
And we went for, and Ross, we can talk about the inspiration, but the style, really, came from you.
Sure.
I immediately said comic book, and of course I will, as evidence.
Yeah. But you
took it to in a whole new elevation.
I appreciate that. And being the creative director for Epic Made, I obviously have a lot of personal sway over what our artists produce. But we do like to, and we can speak to this as well. I'm sure you have noticed that I like to give quite a bit of control to the team as far as concepting and no idea is a bad idea as long as it actually works, right? I'm not hierarchically any better at coming up with something than anybody else is on our team. And I like working that way, and I think it facilitates a better environment for artists in general. But stylistically, you kind of caught me on the back end of finishing up a huge push of the Supernal comic that I was making, or sort of still am making, but it's on hiatus. Yeah. And stylistically, I was really developing something that was kind of a cross between, Mignola's style and something a little bit more detailed, something like, Mira's Berserk, or even something that you might see out of Marvel. And I felt like that was the perfect vehicle for Paragon. But there was a piece of it that was missing, right? Like my art style, if I had drawn this myself, I think that there was, in fact, I think I did put in an early concept personally. There was a piece of it that was missing, and it was that kind of more whimsical NFT anatomy that we're kind of used to, I think, in the space with Bored Apes or pretty much any NFT has its own anatomical uniqueness as well as the style itself, the way it's drawn. And that was achieved by one of the artists on our team.
Yeah. Something that really makes it special. When you look at the Zuki, it's a Zuki. When you look at the Doodle, it's a Doodle. They all have their own system.
Right. Yeah. And that was achieved largely internally rather than exclusively a carbon copy of something that I would personally draw. And and honestly, it continued to kind of compile from there. Like all of the rendering style kind of evolved, and the specifics kind of evolved based on inputs from the team and like what their strengths were and whatnot. And so yeah, we ended up with this more exaggerated anatomy, a little bit more sharp, angular anatomy that isn't as realistic as I typically draw in terms of, human anatomy.
Yeah.
But it leads more to that stylization that you see in specific cartoons or even comics as well, which I am kind of the third party in this, right? Like, obviously I own Epic Made, but I'm not on the art team. Like I've fully delegated that to you, Ross, and you do such a great job with it but it's been fun for me because, I still kind of stay in the peripheral watching it. I get excited every time you post things, and it's just like this whole collaborative process has come through. And I love that, like in our chat now, like everyone's got our PFPs that we've made, and it's really cool. And the whole thing I love NFTs and I collect them and I'm all over the place looking at stuff just like Tim. So like, I haven't seen anything like this that I think has this level of uniqueness to the art and still is an assemblage, through we're basically building a generator system, Tim, and it's probably worthwhile to talk about that. Like that's how a lot of these PFPs start is to like, hey, there's 8 characteristics and each characteristic has X number of traits and we run it through a randomizer and it spits out like one of the traits, and like, some of them have weighted values, so it spits out a lot more of this one. It's a common, and a whole lot less of this one, which is a rare attribute. And so yeah, we've been building that out, but I think we took even a unique approach on that, just through kind of a trial and error type of thing, right? So
absolutely. So, and we're super excited about the quality. And now I'm going to say something that sounds like I'm going to blow this up, which is we started this PFP project to be the characters and to be utilized as the characters in the game that we're making. And the game is an asynchronous, mission-based game where you can seek, meaning you're seeking a Paragon, which is another NFT. But you do that by throwing them out into the fantasy world and then waiting. It's almost like you're fishing. They go as long as you like, and then you recall them and they come back with loot. And that loot might be a Paragon NFT because you're not going to mint Paragons. You can only find them. You might come back with a Minion NFT, which is actually the third collection, which we'll talk about in a second. There's also, think of them as your furry little cohorts that are helping you also have better success in the game. Or you can come back with boots and collectibles and all sorts of different like game items. But the reason that I said it's going to sound like blowing it up is you don't have to use a seeker to go on the mission. Mm-hmm. You can use any NFT.
Right.
So, sorry, any verified NFT. My team will get mad if I'm saying any NFT. You just go back from the NFT of your face, and then that's the one. So any verified collections that are out there. The reason that it sounds like it's blowing up is this whole idea of the use case and proof of concept for the platform. Any NFT can be used. If you use one of our sticker NFTs, you obviously get bonuses, and it's better. But any NFT can go seeking for these prizes and loot and all this kind of stuff. They can go out and do the things that the seeker NFTs can do in the game. And on top of that, at different times, we can make different collections have better stats, have better success metrics, have better loot they can find. We'll be partnering with different collections across the Web3 space on promotional periods where for 2 weeks or for a week or whatever it is, their NFT has a particular power in the game. And those then pair up with ours, but you don't have to have a seeker. Anything. So that in this way, we're trying to attack the idea that in most projects, you have to have one of their NFTs to have any kind of meaningful interaction with the project. Right. And here, anybody can have a meaningful interaction with our project. But on top of that, if you don't have any of these things, like a seeker or a Minion or a Paragon or a specific NFT that might be most powerful this week, you can immediately rent them. You can immediately find a solution for filling that gap in your collection. So we're making it a use case for the platform while at the same time opening it up to everybody else. So the seekers are obviously the most powerful thing in finding loot.
Right. And it would be silly if that wasn't the case, right?
Right.
Like, you still need to have, not only from a lore standpoint, are they specialized in seeking, but you still have to have draw to your collection. But I think you're doing something incredibly noble in that you're opening up community into a environment that is, as of right now, notorious for closed off collectors, right? Like you're creating all of these little communities are creating bubbles, and it's an exclusivity play rather than what you're trying to do. And I definitely respected that.
Well, and I think they're getting away with doing both, right? Like the exclusivity is going to be there. Hopefully the seekers will go up in tremendous value, which will be great for the holders. But still making sure like, hey, the door's still open. Come play with any of these collections. And I'm sure you guys will be sure to continue to include collections that people can go buy for, 0.01 ETH, or whatever, whatever is like 20 to 50 bucks at the time, depending on the market.
We're not going to make any promises or expectations of value going up or down or whatever, but they'll be there for utilizing the platform. And what I think is hopefully going to be of tremendous value to people is that no matter what you do in the game, using ours, using others, NFTs, playing it at all, doing anything with it, as well as doing anything on the site, all are part of our XP system. So you're going to have a user, whether you're listing, buying, renting, whatever, or playing the game, or both. And every single activity that you do across the whole ecosystem gets you XP. But you are leveling up. So the whole thing is an RPG, the whole platform. And that RPG then, as opposed to, or whatever you want to call it, our reward system or incentivization system is going to be around NFTs as opposed to being around some token incentivization or all kinds of. We're going to make about NFTs. Will there be leaderboards and prizes? Absolutely. Will there be things that you can earn over time? Absolutely. But they're going to be, I think, a little different than people have seen before. And everything you do in the ecosystem all benefits your XP and your level within the ecosystem. And that'll get you all sorts of benefits.
Right.
It's so exciting. I can't wait to check it out more. And you guys are still going to have all the primary features that you would have in like an OpenSea, I assume, as well.
We're coming out, we're focusing more on kind of some of these other things like rent and buy now, pay later and rent to own and so forth than we are in buy and sell, but it'll be there too.
Okay. Right. Will they be able to mint NFTs on the platform, or is mostly
eventually? Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, what's happening when you find a Minion or a Paragon NFT is you're essentially, you're not technically minting, but that basically the way the mint of those two collections will work is they will be filed over time. Obviously, you can increase your chances to be able to find those, but the supply of those two collections will start off at 1, right, and go up to a maximum, as opposed to the seekers, which will mint and anyone can, and will be a set number. But the other one, basically, the supply will increase over time to a maximum, which is exciting because of that.
So we are unfortunately running out of time. It's getting real late. That being said, we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this for sure.
Totally.
Did you want to discuss anything in particular about anything else about either I know you talked about wanting to bring up the Minions again, or do you want to do like a one last?
Absolutely. So let's plug the Minions real quick, Rob. Okay. But I want you to do it too, because the Minions were this thing where we were like, we want to have kind of a companion collection, something that helped the seekers on their way. Mm-hmm. And this is the best example of something that truly we started off with. Well, they're Minions, right? Mm-hmm. And it turned into what it is today. And it is some of the most fun creation and artwork that we've done. I think the Seekers stuff is fantastic. The Minion stuff is playful in a way that it's very different than the rest of it. And Ross, your team, really came up with the ideas from a design standpoint that we ended up on. That didn't come from my side.
Right. Yeah. And we worked. A lot of it was in context, right? Like a lot of what I personally have educated myself on beyond just the physical artist side of it is storytelling, right? Like I consistently educate myself on how to better tell stories, how to better add motifs and symbolism and through lines and so on and so forth into the stuff that I create personally and for our clients. And so what we did was we took the context of what you're trying to do with them, was that the minions sort of helped find the paragons, and we built it directly into their anatomy, into their character design, right? So the minions have these, we're calling them affinities. They're basically like attunements to a heroic ideal, whether that's a villainous ideal or a cleric-esque.
Like, because all paragons are not good.
Right, yeah. Whether that's like a true hero, Superman hero, or a hero caliber villain, and basically they help. It's physically part of their body, so they're kind of like a golem in that sense. And it really drives a huge portion of their character design, for that magic to kind of be literally center chest and in full view of every single design. And then beyond that, we took inspiration from other NFT collections, Pokemon, Digimon, like basically every. At one point, we referenced every single, pocket monster, critter type digital
monster type of thing.
Yeah. The plushy bait, the plushy bait category of character design. And I think we came up with a really cool. I don't even think we have like a specific guidelines for what constitutes a minion, as much as there's just a clear visual similarity between a lot of them.
Yeah. We ended up, because we are telling a story through this whole thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because we're trying to have the narrative over time built also by the folks using the game. So we have what we're starting off in season 1, and then we're going to be telling a story that is based on the actions of the players. So the people that own these NFTs are using their own are going to basically guide the way that the narrative rolls out. And the minions, I think people are going to get a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment out of the way the minions turned out. And that's a testament to your crew.
They may well steal the show, man. They're pretty. They're like cute and powerful and whimsical and like all at the same time. Like,
yeah. So they might, but I'm glad you said that narrative thing, Ross, because that's super important to the way that this thing is going to roll out over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So, Tim, unfortunately for everyone's timeline sake, we are going to have to wrap up soon, but we do have one last question for you. And before we ask that, I do want to direct everyone to the findtheparagon.com.
Yeah, findtheparagon.com. Right now, we'll basically explain a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about, but we'll soon be the home for much more as we roll out. We're in alpha right now. We'll be going to beta very soon, so people being able to get their hands on all this stuff is coming soon, and the mint will come soon thereafter.
Heck yeah, possibly even by the time this episode comes out. We don't really know exactly how we're going to time that, but yeah, absolutely. So, last question: do you have a person, software, a project, a inspiration of some sort that you want to shout out, share some love? We like to do that at the end of our podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Because just today, the world learned of Look North World, which is the new studio from my old partner Alex Seropian. They launched. They not only announced themselves, they launched their first game on the Unreal Engine for Fortnite platform. And so their first game, Out of a Corral, literally came out at the same time that they're announced in the studio. So they are moving fast. They made a really super cool experience. And all that whole team are all folks that are near and dear to my heart. So that studio and game are out now. So Look North World is who I'd shout out for right now.
Heck yeah! Thanks so much.
So that's Look North World.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. And what's the game one more time?
Look North.
Yep.
And what's the game title one more time?
Oh, the game's called Outlaw Corral.
Got it.
And you can and so the whole thing happens within the context of Fortnite, on a new program they're doing, which is super cool. But yeah, you can go check it out right now.
Heck yeah!
Oh, awesome. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Pete Cunningham for introducing us. Super good guy. Pete also owns an agency. I think they work in the medical space. Do you know the name of the agency off the top of my head?
I don't here.
Neither do I. But yeah, super. Appreciate you, Pete. I'll definitely reach back out to him. So
solid shout out.
Yeah. I should know that. That is what it is.
Well, we've been talking to Tim Harris, who is the CEO of Paragon. We've been working with him since January, I think. So over 6 months. And if listeners want to follow up with you directly, where should they go?
So you can follow us on Twitter at Find the Paragon, or myself at The Wizard, which is THEWZRD. And everything can be found from either one of those.
Fantastic.
All right. And Pete's agency is Evolve Healthcare Marketing, just for the record. All right, Tim. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Solid landing.
Yeah. All right, friends. Till next time. Good. Thanks for coming out, and we'll talk to y'all soon. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.